Good morning, everybody. Welcome back to Crypto Warehouse. The 10th of February, 11 a.m. Central European Time. Probably a lot later where you are if you're watching on Binance Square. Good morning to you. This is a Tuesday morning stream, and we're going to go through the Bitcoin news, the Ethereum news, Solana news, World Liberty financial news, and everything else along the way. We're going to stream for about an hour. Make sure if you're watching to smash the follow button. If you're watching somewhere else, make sure you hit the subscribe button. What we're going to go through today then is we're going to go through the following. We're going to have a look at the liquidity. Was it the liquidity that was to blame for the crash that happened last week? We're going to look at Firesticks, or Firestack, should I say, which is Fireblocks and stacks coming together for Bitcoin DeFi. Is that important for you? We'll look at Mega ETH. We're going to look at Sol's ETF slipping. We covered the XRP ETF yesterday, remember? And I said to you, watch the flows into and out of the ETFs. It's a signal. We're going to look at the Sol ETF today. We looked at XRP yesterday. We're going to look at the amount of money generated by World Liberty Financial just in the last year and a bit. We're also going to look at Story and their token IP. And we're going to finish with Kango. So that's your show for today. A little bit more varied than normal because we like to mix things up. And to be honest, when Bitcoin is going sideways, as it is, probably, who knows, maybe even for the next 6 months, we just need to start looking at other things, maybe other opportunities, who knows. So we're going to have a quick look at the prices before we go any further. Bitcoin coming in just over $69,000. Hasn't really moved since yesterday. Ethereum is still over $2,000. Hasn't really moved an awful lot since yesterday. Same with XRP. Solana coming in at $84, $85. If you're not in our Telegram group, and we're not expecting you to, and we're not going to tell you where it is, if you are, you'll know we've got some targets to buy Solana at. One of those targets was between $90 and $100. We bought. The second of those targets was to buy between $80 and $90, and we bought. Now, you know where this is going to go. The next target for us is the $70 to $80 range. We'll buy there, and then $60 to $70 we'll buy there, and then $50 to $60 we are going to load up. Okay? Now, we are not talking big numbers here. We're going to be buying 3 to 5 Sol at a time, but we're going to dollar cost average in on the way down. And ideally, as I was saying yesterday to the Oracle, off stream, that is, the way to look at Solana is, don't think about it going to $1,000 or $2,000. Think about it going back to where it hit in 2025, which is $250. If you're buying it at $50, $60, $70, $80, $90, you're looking at an average of maybe a 4x from buying from dollar cost averaging in. Now, you're going to turn maybe $1,000, $2,000 into maybe $4,000 to $8,000. Okay, a solid 4x. That's what we're talking about with Solana. And as I've said all along, I am underweight in Solana. It's probably my favorite coin with my least exposure. That's how I would frame Solana. It's not my favorite coin. I have other coins with higher exposures that are less favorable, but I've also got coins that I love, that I hold enough of, such as Ethereum and Bitcoin. So that's how I view Solana. Other coins to look at, you need to be looking at Hype. Now, Hype is starting to look like it's going to break back below $30. That's a good thing. We want to pick up Hype between $20 and $25. Cardano needs to get back to 30 cents, then 40 cents, then 60 cents. We're a long way from there with Cardano. I say this all the time. Canton is now 15th market cap wise. Incredible. And if we look further down here, we covered World Liberty Financial in a stream last week, about 1 week ago. And we were talking about World Liberty Financial stablecoin hitting $5 billion. We're sitting here today, it's almost at $5.4 billion. I said on that stream 1 week ago that World Liberty Financial will be the third biggest stablecoin easily by the summer. If not by the summer, then certainly by the end of the year. Look what is above it. Ethena's USDE at $6.4 billion. Then what do we have? We have USDC and we have Tether. Neither of those two are going to be caught anytime soon. So World Liberty Financial, the third biggest stablecoin in the world, People were laughing when they announced that. Probably just before Christmas, one of the team came out and said we want to be the third biggest stablecoin in the world. People laughed because they had a market cap of $1 or $2 billion. Who's laughing now? Who is laughing now? Now, we're going to move on. 24-hour gainers, Stable is the stablecoin blockchain. That's up. There's a lot of volatility with that token right now because the market cap is so low. Be careful if you buy into that. Layer Zero is also up there. There's a lot of decent projects in the gainers. Pippin, I don't know anything about. I'm going to be honest on that. Humanity, which was down quite recently, is now up again. It's up 35% on the week. Quant is one of those tokens. It's a little bit like Ethereum that's been in kind of like a 4-year range. Quant is a token that ranges between about $60 and $100. That's kind of the range it's been in. Maybe if Quant dips below 60 towards 50, that would be a good chance to buy it. Now, the interesting thing about Quant, look at the circulating supply of Quant, 12 million. It's not got a large number of tokens. And I know a lot of people like to look at that. They like to think if it's got a lower circulating supply, that means anything. I don't really buy into that, simply because you can buy 1/100th of a Quant, 1/10th of a Quant, and I don't really think it matters. What matters is, of course, circulating supply, the cliffs at which the tokens are released. That really matters to me. Asta is up 5%. Other good coins up that in the last 24 hours. Not really that many that I can see. XRP is having a little bit of a recovery, but not much. Losers then in the last 24 hours. Story IP we're going to cover today. Hype is down 5%. Again, you want to, as we said yesterday, follow the narrative in the opposite direction. When people are talking about hype and it's running up towards $50, $60, sell. When nobody's talking about hype and the price is coming back down and it's had its hype phase and it's starting to get back into the $20 range, then yes, have a look at it. Lighter is up there. Lighter, I think, will also be a decent project moving forward. Dupe is down below 15 cents. Absolutely shocking performance by that token. Look at the market cap of Dupe. Dupe is probably the biggest project on Solana, and it doesn't even have $1 billion market cap. It's crazy. Aptos is down in there. Pump.fun is down. There's a lot of losers, but we don't want to sit here talking about losers. Let's get on with the X-Files. Market cap hasn't really changed since yesterday either. I think it was about 2.36 yesterday, 2.35 today. Let's get on with the stream. Where is everybody today? There is literally nobody here. It's like we're in a void. On this day in 2011, Bitcoin hit $1. The rest is history. 15 years ago, Bitcoin was $1. How many Bitcoin would you have bought at $1 if you could go back in time 15 years and buy Bitcoin? How would you have bought in 2011? 1,000 maybe? 10,000? Probably 1,000 I would have gone for. I would be a lot wealthier today if I knew about Bitcoin in 2011. I think 2015, 2016 was the first I heard of it. And that was pretty much it. Updated as of the 9th of February. This is the race for the top holder of Bitcoin. And the orange line there, as far as I'm aware, is MicroStrategy. The black line there is BlackRock's ETF, as far as I'm aware. And you will see that they are tracking each other pretty closely. Pretty closely indeed. Whatever happens, Bitcoin is going to win. That's the most important thing, okay? Yes, we can talk about people holding it in decentralized wallets. We can talk about doing it for the culture. We can talk about all of those things. When it comes down to it, BlackRock are holding it on behalf of you anyway. So people who can't get into crypto maybe through Binance and maybe need to use their bank, they'll use BlackRock. I have no problem with that at all. Isn't the point of Bitcoin to be available to all men and women, to everybody? Well, if all men and women can't use Binance, for example, or can't use a Web3 platform, surely this is the next best thing, holding it through BlackRock. MicroStrategy, on the other hand, is holding it on behalf of very rich investors. They're running very, very close to each other. There's a good chance they're going to flip each other a few times in the next 24 hours. 24 hours, sorry, 24 months. Probably going to flip back and forth, but who's there? Who knows? Now then, this is an interesting list. This is the list from Michael van der Poppe. And we covered him yesterday. And I don't normally do this kind of stuff, but I quite like this list. This is the list of assets that they think you should be looking at right now. Okay, now normally we turn this into an article and we talk about these things, but I want to run through this because I published a similar portfolio breakdown a couple of weeks ago, and there's a few familiar names on here that I hold and we've talked about before. Clearly, you want to be holding Bitcoin and Ethereum, absolutely. But the ones underneath, I'd kind of break down into tokens which I don't necessarily think are going to do exceptionally well, and more speculative tokens. So I'm not a big fan of Tau, believe it or not. I am a fan of NEAR, so that's your AI side taken care of, although I do probably want to switch out Tau for FET. FET needs to do something, but I think I would swap that out. Ondo is in there. I'd certainly put Syrup alongside Ondo, and they would be my real-world asset tokens. Hype would be in there alongside maybe Asta in terms of your kind of DEXy, Perpy type things. And then Aave is in there as the DeFi token. Probably Aave is going to become the single point for DeFi in terms of volume and in terms of TVL. So Aave, yes. And then Arb, I don't know about Arbitrum. Arbitrum's one of those ones. They did really, really well. Then it absolutely fell through the floor. And I don't know. But anyway, that would be my list of tokens. So very, very good list. And again, there are good people out there that you can watch and you can look at. Not everybody on crypto Twitter is an idiot trying to shill you some $5 million meme coin. Okay, there are good people out there. You just need to find them. Dan Crypto Trades, we cover him quite a lot on the channel. Michael van der Poppe, I think I unfollowed him for a while, but I don't remember why. But found him again. He's a good source of information. Now, these are the top US denominated yield products by TVL in 2025. Now, the one I want to point out here is you want to look at the APY. That's how much money you're earning from the yield. Okay, very simply put. Now, if you lend USDT on Aave, for example, which is the number one spot, that's got a TVL of 6.6 billion, you're going to get 2.88%. If you look down to the right-hand side in 9th position, you will see Syrup USDC from Maple Finance, who, of course, we cover an awful lot on this channel. You will see they are paying 5.25%. I think that's an average over the course of 2025. So you are making 2.4% per year extra for using Syrup USDC. Now, you might say to yourself, what do I do? Do I stake it? Do I hold it somewhere? What do I do with it? You do nothing with it. You hold it in your wallet. So if you're on Binance, you're on Binance right now, and you type in Syrup, you're going to see like maybe 3 tokens. Syrup is the token of Maple Finance, but then you're probably going to see Syrup USDC or Syrup USDT. I can't remember which one now. But either way, it doesn't matter. They're still paying around about the same amount of money. So that's what I would look for. Now, don't get me wrong. There are others on here which I would also look at. Anything north of about 4% is decent. So you've got USDE on there, USDS is on there, from Sky and from Athena. They're also decent returns. But if you're earning, let's say, 2 or 3%, use Binance. Binance sometimes pays upwards of 6% on its stablecoins. USD1 is paying at the minute anywhere between 8 and 19%. So yield farming on stables is... It might sound incredibly boring, but it's something you should look at. It's absolutely something you should look at. Now then, let's move on a little bit. Otherwise, we're going to be doing these all day. Now, listen, I don't know what is wrong with chat today. Let me go and have a quick look at Binance Square. Because there's nobody on. There's nobody on YouTube. Nobody. Not a soul on YouTube. It's empty. Sorry, that's not true. Hidden Agendas is here. Hidden Agendas is the only person that is on YouTube right now. We normally get a lot more than this. Anyway, Let me log in. Good morning, Meow. Good morning, Awai. I hope you're doing incredibly well. Remember to say hello in chat. Say hello. There are a few people knocking around. It's not like we are streaming to nobody. I just happen to... I can see the YouTube chat before I can see anything else. Now, there is a possibility, by the way, that the notifications weren't sent out by YouTube. Sometimes it breaks. Maybe that's the case. Now, Shah put this up. Now, Shah, I believe, is something to do with the Solana blockchain, or he was something to do with the Solana blockchain. He has pointed out Murad. Now, again, I want to be very clear here. I've been very critical of Murad, and the reason is that he went, I believe he was a Bitcoin maxi way back in the day, and then he absolutely changed to meme coins and said meme coins the future. They're going to lead this next cycle, which was the last cycle. They're going to be the things to get into. It's what's going to drive adoption. That was his thesis. Now, it has fallen to pieces because it was not the right thesis. And we talk about false prophets, false gods, false idols. And obviously, if you are religious, your religion will tell you do not follow false prophets. And I am here, as always, to try and tell you the same thing. He was $65 million up over 2.5 years, and now he's breaking even. Okay? And this is the performance of SPX 6900. Now, we have traded this coin before on the channel, and we've been massively bullish at a different phase of the market. The Oracle did a stream 6-12 months ago talking about the coin going on a massive run. We bought that coin ourselves. We watched it. We did about 40% profit on spot in about 3 or 4 days off the Oracle's call. Then we sold it. It came back down. He did another call, 90 cents, whatever it was, running up to about 120, 130. Same thing again. We bought back into the coin. Just because a coin has round tripped does not mean you can't make profits on it. All of those big, juicy green candles, you can catch them. But that's not the point of this. The point of this is, if you've got $65 million in your account, and that is life-changing money, and you can extract somewhere between 20 and 30 million of that to a bank account in stables, paying you, as we've just shown you, 5%. So had he put $30 million into Syrup USDC, he'd be making $1.5 million a year in income. $100,000 a month. He didn't, okay? I don't care what anybody tells you on the internet, on Binance Square. I don't care what anyone tells you. You buy into the culture, all that kind of crap. If you have serious life-changing money on the table and you have the opportunity to take it, you take it, okay? You take the photo of your portfolio after you sell. You don't take it before you sell because the price will drop. Now, I feel sorry for Murad, but I also don't feel sorry for him because somebody with that amount of intelligence to not make returns on $65 million, he's a really bad investor. You can buy into Netflix at $5. You can run it up to $600. There could be a disaster at Netflix. It could run back down to $7 or $8. Okay? Does that make you a great investor? No, it doesn't. It makes you really good at spotting a gem, but also means you've got lockjaw because you can't let go. And that's why he should be a lesson to all of you. 65 million on the table. Maybe because of liquidity issues and all of those things, maybe he couldn't sell, or maybe if he had have sold, people would have called him out. I would take $30 million. If I was Murad, I'd have taken $30 million off the table and watch my reputation be tarnished for a couple of weeks, and then turn around and say, you would be an idiot if you didn't do this. This is what you do. You make your money and you leave. But he didn't. Now then, I'm not going to talk too much about this, simply because of the fact that we are streaming on Binance as well. Backpack Exchange, founded by former FTX employees, in talks to raise $50 million at a $1 billion pre-money valuation while unveiling tokenization plans. If you touch that exchange, you deserve everything that happens. And I don't mean that in a horrible way. There is no way on earth that these employees did not know what Sam Bankman-Fried was up to. There's no way on earth they didn't know what Ellison was up to. They knew, okay? So you're taking fraudsters without their head, and then you are raising capital to open an exchange. It will not end well. Just going to leave it like that. Now, T Crypto Chicks, who I don't personally know, and I found her today. I'm going to cover this because there is this headline doing the rounds. And of course, you'll notice we've got the Word Liberty Financial logo on because we are providing content for them on Binance this month. Binance, whose founder was pardoned, now holds 87% of Trump's stablecoin. Okay. Binance does not hold 87% of the stablecoin. You, on Binance, hold 87% of the stablecoin. You don't hold it if you are Binance. You hold it. They are custodians of your money. You are holding USD1, not Binance. And she goes through here, and let's just put this out. Exchange custody does not equal ownership. Absolutely true. Liquidity concentrates on the biggest exchange. Okay, USD1 is brand new. It's been out for a year and a half. Okay, it's brand new. It's not like Tether and Circle. They've been around for years. It's brand new. So of course it's going to go to the biggest exchange because that's where the majority of the liquidity is. On-chain addresses is not the same as Binance's balance sheet. No minting power, no control. Binance does not mint this token. The same pattern has been seen with USDT, USDC, and BUSD. Narrative framing matters. She or he. I'd say it's a she. Crypto Chicks, I'd say it's a she. She's called it, and CZ's come out and talked about this, and I totally agree with this. Don't also forget that Binance are running a World Liberty financial campaign. I don't know how much it is. It's about $40 million they're running right now. So where is USD1 going to go when it's chasing yield? It's going to go to Binance, very simply. That's all it is. That's all that's going to happen. So don't believe the FUD. It's just out there. It happens all the time. Good morning, Leo Misty. I hope you are well. Yeah, I don't know where everyone's gone. I don't think the notifications have been sent out for the stream. Now, last thing before we get onto the actual news. This is not good, okay? 3.5 billion has been taken out of the market cap of USDT. 3.5 billion has left crypto. Now, this is probably the biggest burn I've ever seen. And I was thinking about it before I came on air. From time to time, you'll see 200 million being minted, even a billion being minted at the different treasuries, the Circle Treasury, the Tether Treasury. That's money coming into crypto. To see 3.5 billion leave is a massive chunk. Now, is this one individual? Maybe. Is this a collection of multiple people leaving the market after last week? Maybe. Yesterday and today, clearly it's Monday, so these transactions are processed on batch. Maybe these were the collection of weekend extractions, maybe. But this is the biggest number I've ever seen for people leaving crypto. And on that point, we're going to go and talk about liquidity, because that is really what this article is talking about. Bitcoin's brutal slide linked to the US liquidity crunch, not broken crypto. Now, again, it's good to get different opinions. Okay, whether I agree with them or not is a different matter, but it's good to get different opinions. Now, Fire Hustle, who I've never heard of, is a popular online crypto connoisseur. He argues that traders are staring at the wrong charts. While many blame Bitcoin's recent plunge and stalled altcoin markets on a broken cycle or fading interest, he says that the real driver is a US liquidity squeeze that has hit risky assets across the board, and that this squeeze may now be easing. Oh, it's a female. So Fire Hustle is another lady. It's good to cover ladies in crypto. She also leads heavily on a comparison highlighted by Raoul Pal. Bitcoin's price action has been tracking SaaS stocks such as Salesforce and Zoom almost tick for tick. In the video, Fire Hustle describes the two as literally exactly the same chart, using it to argue that crypto isn't uniquely impaired but simply behaving like other high beta growth orientated assets. I absolutely agree with that take. But just because I agree with the take doesn't mean I agree with the reason for the take. Bitcoin is not doing anything different. And the issue, or the one thing we try and cover on here, is the fact that simply this: Bitcoin and crypto are not immune to the macro, which means it's not immune to China and Taiwan, or Eastern Europe conflict, or Middle Eastern conflict. It's not immune to those things. It's not immune to Trump becoming the president. It does what everything else does. Gold rips in times of uncertainty. Risk on assets such as Bitcoin will fall when there is conflict or COVID. Look at what happened during the COVID crash. So don't look at Bitcoin and say it's broken. It's following the macro. That's all it's doing. US liquidity was drained by 2 government shutdowns and the winding down of the Federal Reserve lending program. The US Treasury built its cash balances in July and August. There was nothing pumping fresh money back into the system. Risk assets like Bitcoin and software stocks were hit first, while gold rallied hard and absorbed all the available money. Now again, I don't agree with that final take either, because gold has been being bought by the likes of China and Russia and other countries as well. Gold has been being bought for probably a year, or if not longer now. China maybe even 2 years. So don't buy that take. I do buy the take that there was no money coming into the system, but that's just a short part of it. There's lots going on, and the problem is, if we go back to this guy here, Raoul Pal, okay, I would say he's one of my favorite people to watch when it comes to crypto. He's up there. I love watching him. I love watching Benjamin Cowen. I love those guys. But loving watching somebody and learning from them does not mean you have to believe them carte blanche for everything they say. Now, Raoul Pal is so experienced. He's got years and years of understanding the markets. He knows what he's talking about. But the problem is he has a cult, the cult of Raoul, okay? And they are people that follow what he says to the word. So what he says is it's all down to liquidity. Now, don't get me wrong. If the American government pumped $10 trillion into the market tomorrow, Bitcoin's price would probably go up to about $250,000. It's not going to happen. It's a tap. It gets slowly turned off and slowly turned back on. The same way interest rates get cut slowly. They don't just go from 5% to 1%. It's a tap. It's a faucet. It's on and it's off, but it's slowly on and it's slowly off. And I think the liquidity that we're seeing, the liquidity crunch we're seeing, is as a result of what's going on in the market, what's going on in the macro. You can't simply say, because there's no money, Bitcoin hasn't gone up. Why is there no money in the market? Because all of these other things have gone on. And those are the reasons why we don't have a Bitcoin pump. If there was an announcement today, America's going to go and buy 100,000 Bitcoin next week, the market would rip. Where's that liquidity come from? China invades, China says they're not going to invade Taiwan, and the Russia calls a ceasefire in the Ukraine. Bitcoin's price would go up dramatically if those two things happened. Where's the liquidity come from to do that? So liquidity only plays a very small role in this. It plays a significant role, but a very small role in this. So I don't agree with all of that necessarily, but I do agree with everything he says. Just because I disagree with him on a few things doesn't mean the guy's not brilliant at what he does. Of course he is. The second shutdown, File Hustle said, kept the Treasury stockpiling cash instead of spending it. Powell's view that the most recent resolution is the final liquidity hurdle, arguing that the sharp dip to $59,000 in Bitcoin, followed by a rebound towards 70, likely marked a local bottom. I think I would agree with that. We've covered that in the charts in at least the last couple of videos, at least the last couple of streams. I do kind of agree with that. I think we've got a local bottom. Okay? Doesn't mean we can't go lower in the summer. It means it's a local bottom. We've had dramatic drops. And the key thing about this number, the 59,000 number, is this. Isn't it funny how we always go to nines, okay? 49, 79, 59. We always go to that number when we have a huge wick in the market. And I just find that really odd. It's like we go and scoop up all the liquidity just below 60,000, 70,000, 80,000. We go and get all of that liquidity and then we bounce straight back like a trampoline. Very, very unusual. Now, we're not going to talk about Potenza. The takeaway for me is liquidity plays a massive part, but it's not the massive reason. That's what I would say. When you're seeing gold doing what gold is doing, for me, that's more to do with the fact that people are worried, and gold traditionally has been the flea. You've then also got China and Russia and everybody else buying gold to build up their own reserve. So you've got those two things going in the background. So it's going to increase the price of gold. And then you put this kind of fear into the market. You've got 3 or 4 big, not institutions, but big groups of people buying gold. And that's going to push the price up. And I'm sure Peter Schiff is still hungover. Good morning, Danny. I hope you're well. Let me just catch up with where we are. Right then. Now, don't know what this is called. Katina? Fireblocks and Stacks have announced an integration designed to give institutional investors direct access to Bitcoin-denominated decentralized finance, expanding the use of Bitcoin beyond custody and trading into on-chain yield and lending. Now, this is something that only came out yesterday. I know nothing about this. Okay, this is brand new. Under the integration, Fireblocks' more than 2,400 institutional clients will be able to deploy Bitcoin into DeFi apps built on the Stacks network while continuing to use Fireblocks' existing infrastructure for custody, settlement, trading, and payments. The company said that offering targets institutions seeing Bitcoin yield without familiar operational and compliance frameworks. Bitcoin DeFi has historically seen limited institutional participation due to tech and security constraints. Fireblocks clients will gain access to Bitcoin native earning products, including yield strategies tied to stacking and decentralized exchanges, as well as Bitcoin-backed lending and borrowing services. The Stacks ecosystem already includes integrations with stablecoin issuers, liquidity providers, and security platforms. This is something which, this phrase here, Bitcoin DeFi access, this is the golden egg, or the golden goose, should I say. This is what we want. And there are more than one way to skin a cat. We've seen Cardano talking about it. We've even talked about Maple Finance doing it. We've talked about CoreDAO doing it. We've talked about Lombard doing it. And the issue is you kind of have to jump through hoops with most of the different companies. It's not easy. And, you know, we even have one on Binance, which is Solve Protocol. I think they're paying 1.5 or 2% on Bitcoin. So there's lots of different possibilities. But Bitcoin's 60% of crypto, and we still haven't figured out a way to generate yield on it in the market. And hopefully this will add yet another opportunity for people to get into crypto and earn a yield on their Bitcoin. Because at the end of the day, what you want to do with your Bitcoin is you don't want to lose your Bitcoin, you don't want to get rid of your Bitcoin, you want to keep your Bitcoin safe. But you want it to earn a yield. Now, if there is a way, and Fireblocks have been around for a very, very long time, they've been around the block several years. If they can give different exchanges like Binance an opportunity to have Bitcoin DeFi, and Bitcoin DeFi simply means this: put your Bitcoin in here, it will be locked away for a month or 3 or 6 months, and you will earn 2% yield. And it's safe. 100% guaranteed by Binance and Fireblocks. If that was a possibility, how many people out there would do it? I imagine quite a lot. So the question then is, how do you generate the yield on the other end? And how do you make that yield on the other end usable when you've got the likes of Fireblocks keeping it locked? And all of these things have happened in the past. All of these things happen in traditional finance, rehypothecation, all that kind of stuff. So there's going to be ways and means to do it. But Fireblocks is the key here because they've been around for a very long time and they basically hold your Bitcoin safe, but then allow others to generate yield on it. Okay, it's a very technical thing to look at, but suffice to say, if it works and it works for Stacks, then great. But then what we need is the likes of Stacks having a solid integration into the likes of Binance or DeFi wallets or whatever it might be, because again, it's not that easy to use. I've looked at, I made a video maybe 6-12 months ago about all the different ways you can earn yield on your Bitcoin, and I ranked them out of about 3 different scores. I might try and upload it to Binance, but basically there's about 5 or 6 different ways, and they range from really, really simple, such as the Solve Protocol option on Binance, all the way through to, what was it called? The one I looked at. We nearly partnered with them. It was a wallet, Bravos. That was it. So before we move on, and again, this isn't a promotion, okay? This is not a promotion. This was a company that we looked at partnering with maybe even 2 years ago, okay? Now this has biometric reading, so you can use it. It's a wallet, by the way. 1 million users, and you can earn yield on your you can earn Bitcoin yield. I don't know what, 8%. Okay, you earn 8%. Now, we didn't partner with them, so we've never been paid by Bravos, so this isn't sponsored, but we looked at this, and the wallet is lovely, and it makes perfect sense, but you can't get your Bitcoin in. You can't get it in. It's a very, very difficult solution to the problem, but it's nearly there. That's the key. It's nearly there. So there are people like that knocking around. We made a video about it. I thought the video was really good. I think there's about 5 different ways to earn yield on Bitcoin. But for me, at the end of the day, if you're on Binance, you use Solve Protocol. I think it might be even 1.9% now. Just use something like that. There's no point in putting your Bitcoin at risk. Now, Mega ETH goes live, pushing Ethereum scaling into real-time territory. Now, I believe this is in the this isn't live, is it? Mega ETH officially launched its public mainnet, entering the market with an ambitious claim, becoming the world's first real-time blockchain. The debut lands amid an intensifying debate inside the Ethereum ecosystem over whether scaling should rely on layer 2 rollups or whether Ethereum should do it, basically. Mega ETH's time is deliberate as congestion, latency, and user experience remains persistent. Pain points across the networks, the project positions itself as an answer. Can Ethereum-based infrastructure truly operate at web-scale speed without sacrificing decentralization? So, introducing the Rabbit Hole, your Mega ETH ecosystem front end. Mainnet is now fully open to the public, and there's various details on this down here. Now, what I would say about this is the same thing I would say about everything else. We're not going to go into the depth on it because we don't want to run out of time. In fact, what is the time? We've got 20 minutes left, which isn't a great deal of time. Everything is great, but it needs adoption. I will say the same thing about Sui. You've heard me say that before. Any new project needs users. Everything else is irrelevant. Now, absolutely, you could have one user with $100 billion. You can have 10,000 users with $100,000. It doesn't really matter. But you need users, and you need TVL, you need volume, you need transactions, you need scale. And one of the things I said a few weeks ago is we're focusing on the biggest horses in this race. The Solanas, the XRPs, even I would argue now maybe even Hype falls into that category. So much as we love seeing new stuff go live, you shouldn't ape and degen into everything, because 99 times out of 100, maybe even 90 times out of 100, most of it's never going to work, and things will die a death. And that's just the way it is. So for me, this is great. We need to see things push the boundary, and things will catch as well, remember. Things will go live and fail, probably because they didn't catch the attention of the users. Other things will go live and absolutely rip. Okay? I mean, look at was it called SocialFi? Look at Cookie. Look at Kaito. They were everywhere for what, a year? Maybe 9 months? And guess what? Gone. Finished. X turned them off. Why? Because it went from the point of being useful to delivering slop. A lot of these projects start off being really useful and then deliver slop. And I'm not saying that about MegaETH. I'm saying you need to keep an eye on who are the people behind these projects, why are they behind these projects, what is the end goal for these projects, how do they intend to scale? Simple things. So much as it's great. Ooh, it's a very nice picture. Is anything going to load? Hang on 1 second. I have miscopied. Now we're going to move on. This is a follow-up to what we were saying yesterday about XRP. ETFs are the miner bird, or should I say the canary in the mine. And this is telling us what the average person is doing. The average person being retail, using the likes of Bitcoin and VanEck and whatever it might be. And I've said keep an eye on this. And I've gone through the XRP one yesterday and I've basically shown you that there is institutional and retail demand for XRP. Solana ETF, on the other hand, isn't doing as well. And there doesn't seem to be the voices pushing Solana as forward as well as those of XRP. This is an attention game. If you haven't got the attention of the American public, they're not going to know about you. They're not going to buy your ETF. Brad Garlinghouse is winning this race between XRP and Solana. Okay? Anatoly is on X arguing with people. Brad Garlinghouse is trying to tie up stablecoin blockchains. He's trying to tie in World Liberty Financial. He's trying to do all of these things. They're not the same. Now, if we're going to be critical of Vitalik for not looking in the right direction, should we then also apply the same critique to Anatoly? Is Anatoly a great builder of companies? Absolutely. He's done it before. Is Vitalik a great builder of infrastructure and tech? Absolutely. But are either of them really CEOs of major corporations? Absolutely not. Of course they're not. You can count really on one hand how many people have gone from starting a business to being a massive success. Jeff Bezos. Probably Elon Musk would fall into that category if you go back to PayPal. So there's very few. The guy at Facebook that we won't mention the name of. There are a few. CZ, another one. There aren't that many. You can count them on two hands. Does Anatoly and Vitalik fall into that category? I don't think they do. And they fail for different reasons. Vitalik is absolutely tech orientated. He wants to get, Ethereum to be secure, safe, decentralized, privacy based. Absolutely. Where's Anatoly? What's he doing right now? He was there. He was launching mobile phones. He was getting busy with it. We've got Solana Breakpoint, probably the best conference in the world annually because they spend so much money on it. Although I'd say Binance Blockchain Week is probably on a par, if not better than Solana Breakpoint, personally. So the question here is, if you're going to buy an ETF, do you buy the XRP ETF with a man in a suit, with an American-based business, talking to the Trump family, blah, blah, blah? Do you go with him or do you go with Anatoly? That's the problem I think we're now getting to with Solana. And listen, I'm buying Solana. I love Solana. I will continue to buy Solana. And believe you me, if we go anywhere near $50, I am going to throw the entire crypto warehouse reserve at Solana. That's how bullish I am on Solana. But it doesn't mean they can't be critiqued. This is the problem in the world today. You can look at Ronaldo, greatest footballer who's ever played. He's 40 years of age. He's lost his pace. How much longer is he going to go on for? Messi, same. But you will get people who say, oh, you can't say that about him, he's the greatest of all time. Yes, you can, because everybody's time comes. Anatoly either has to up his game or move on. Now, in the article, it basically just talks about the Solana ETF flows. Like, what I would say here is look at the left area, massive inflows, then the switch down here, massive outflows. That's what I would say. Question in chat. Are you buying or waiting for a bigger drop? What we did, basically, every time Solana drops into a different range, so 90 to 100, 80 to 90, 70 to 80, we buy another chunk of Solana and a slightly bigger chunk. So it's kind of dollar cost averaging based on price. That's what we're doing. For Bitcoin, you've got to answer one question. If you think we're going to $50,000, which I do, is buying at $70,000 really that bad? That's what I would say. Are we going to go over $100,000 in the next year or two? Absolutely. So your short-term pain is losing 30 or 40% on your investment. Your long-term gain is probably 2 or 3x. So for Bitcoin, that's how I would view it. We are close to the bottom, and we're a lot closer to the bottom than we are when we were at 120,000. So I would say, if you were going to copy our strategy, 70, 65, 60, 55, 50, those would be the price ranges I would buy at. Maybe 51, 56, 61, 66 would be my prices to buy at. And then just follow it down. Because the plan that we've got here is very simple. We're going to buy more Solana. I've got a certain target for Solana. And when it goes back to $250, which is where it's going to go at some point in the future, and we sell, we'll have 4 to 5x our money. And we're buying significant amounts to be able to do that. And we think at the end of that, we're going to be talking about getting a deposit for the Oracle to get a house. That's what I would say. So that's what we're looking at. And again, I'm not going to say that about every, I'm not going to sit here and say Bitcoin is going to go to $400,000, buy it now. I don't think we are. Maybe in the next cycle, we start to get towards 200,000. Maybe Ethereum does break up a lot higher. I mean, Ethereum really has got the furthest to run. If Bitcoin in the next cycle gets to, let's say, 190 in the next cycle, which is a good 50% above where we got to. Let's say it gets to 190. Where are we going with Ethereum? 8,000 maybe? 7,000? 8,000? That's a 4x from where we are now. Whereas with Bitcoin, you're looking at a 3x. So that's the kind of thing you need to weigh up. Not that we're going to go to the moon, but how much higher than where we got to are we going to go? Maybe Ethereum goes to 7,000, 8,000, and maybe Bitcoin only goes back to 160,000. But still, Ethereum will still outperform Bitcoin from bottom to top. Solana, on the other hand, or XRP, even XRP, isn't really that far down. Remember, Solana has gone from 250 down to 80. XRP's gone from 370 down to 140. They've had significant drops. Ethereum is down, what, 50%? Bitcoin's down 45%, 40%. So you've got to think of the ones that even if they just went back to where they got to in the last bull run, that would be enough for you to walk away with healthy profit. That's what I would say on that. Now, as I would say, Solana, fallen off the edge of a cliff. I think it's got too much activity right now for it to fail. I think we've got to that point with some chains. Ethereum, Bitcoin, Solana. That's pretty much it. XRP doesn't have the volume yet. BNB is another one. Yeah, BNB. That's got the volume. That's got the activity. Those are the coins really that have proved themselves. Projects that have proved themselves. The rest haven't, in my opinion. Good morning, Solo Sky. By the way, guys, I have no idea why. I don't think YouTube notifications were sent out today because I didn't get one and nobody else seems to have got one because there's nobody in chat. Oh, until you guys turned up. So for me, I would look at this and say, if the price goes lower, the risk reward on this seriously increases. Sorry, the reward versus risk seriously increases on this. The lower Solana goes, like I said, it's going to go back over $100. So even if you buy it at $50, $55 and it goes back to $125, you doubled your money. That's the way I would see it. And you can't say that about every coin. Now then, Trump family affiliated World Liberty Financial generated $1.4 billion in 16 months. You will see on the screen in the bottom left-hand corner that we are working with World Liberty Financials this month, February, and a little bit of March. That doesn't mean we have to sit here and cover them every day, but it does mean we will cover them if they pop up in the news, and they have done. Now, we covered at the very beginning, $5.4 billion is the stablecoin market cap of USD1. That's going to hit 10 billion before the end of the year. Absolutely cast iron. Why does that matter? You're all screaming at me. Because at 10 billion, it will be generating $400 to $450 million a year. And at $450 million a year, a very large proportion of that is going to be used to buy the WLFI token. That's why it matters. I can't say the same thing about USDC or USDT. But there is a buyback and burn mechanism on World Liberty Financials. So, of course, I'm going to cover it. Hype's got the same thing. Now, they generated $1.6 billion. And what I would say about this is, if we go back to here, I don't know if I'm going to be able to bring it up. But we will see. Let me see if I can find it. You can type in... I think you can type in stablecoin, go to categories, and go here. Here we go. Now, this is what I want to show you. Okay, I said on stream a week ago, I think it was last Wednesday, World Liberty Financial will become the third biggest stablecoin by a mile in the next 6 to 12 months. And if we go back not too far, they were right down here, below Ripple, below USDD. That's where they were. Now, it's the newest one on the block, and it's already up at 5.4 billion. So we're already talking about it generating about $250 million a year in revenue because of the treasury yield. They're $1 billion behind Athena. Now, of course, I say this all the time, they're moving trains, everything's a moving train. What's the fastest one to 7 billion? Is it going to be Athena or World Liberty Financial? Well, Athena went from 5 to 6.4 and World Liberty went from 1 to 5. So for me, World Liberty Financial is likely to flip Athena before the summer. It's going to hit $10 billion. It has no chance of getting to USDC and USDT in the very near future, probably not even for the next few years. It's got no chance. It's so far behind. But it doesn't matter, because at $20 billion, it will be generating about $1 billion a year in revenue, and that's what matters. Don't look at who they're going up against today. Look at the revenue they're going to be generating, and then look at World Liberty Financial Coin. That's all I would say about it, really. And I'm going to have to keep it quick because we're running out of time again, as we always do on these streams. Now, like I said, I am keeping an eye on chat. The only chats I can see are Twitch and YouTube. They're the only two chats I can see. I can't see Binance at the minute, but I'm going to have a look at the end, and I'm going to see if I get any more comments. Story Protocol IP delays unlock to August 2026 amid AI shift. Now, for those of you that don't know, and we've looked at this very, very briefly, Story Protocol is like an intellectual property project. We looked at it very, very briefly. It doesn't warm my loins, okay? It doesn't give me a warm feeling in my stomach. I'm not saying it's a bad project. It doesn't appeal to me, and that's fine, okay? Brussels sprouts, Bovril, okay? Dime bars, okay? I know there's people out there that will eat a dime bar covered in Bovril And I also know there are people out there that would call a priest if you were at a dime bar covered in Bovril. I get these things. And I think it's a little bit like that. It's not my cup of tea. However, it doesn't mean we don't cover it. So basically, they're delaying the unlock to slow the emissions. They're trying to keep the price of the token up. The issue is with stuff like this is when you have so many tokens to release and then you release them, the price is always going to get suppressed. A far better solution would be just burn them. Now, they're shifting their focus to licensing human-generated data for AI training, moving attention away from on-chain fee metrics. This approach may prioritize enterprise deals and off-chain contracts. Major investors include Andreessen Horowitz, A16Z, support the delay to limit supply shocks and stabilize conditions while product market fit matures. Their stance underscores risk management over short-term liquidity. At the time of writing, based on data from CoinGecko, IP trades at $1.22. Again, we don't really care about the price of that. What I would say about this is that they're delaying the unlock, shifting focus onto more probably trendy-based markets, AI, imagery, AI, music, AI, stories, whatever it might be. That's where they're moving their focus, and that's absolutely fine. There are companies, of course, are allowed to follow the cash. Would I buy that token? No. I did hold a token that had shares in music. They bought people's back albums off them. I can't remember what they were called now. That was a really, really interesting project, but they diluted the value too much. Anyway, now, this is what we should expect to see. Okay, I've got my head in my hands on this one. There's two stories we could have run with today on this. One is that there is a miner who has gone bankrupt. And then there's this one. So Cango sold $305 million of Bitcoin during the slump to fund the AI shift. The company plans to deploy modular GPU units across 40 global sites to provide on-demand AI inference capacity for small and mid-sized businesses. They sold 4,451 Bitcoin for $305 million and then plans to use it to reduce leverage and prepare for a strategic shift into AI computing infrastructure. The company plans to deploy these units. Cango is part of a growing trend of Bitcoin miners pivoting to AI, with analysts warning of execution risks in the transition to AI-focused business models. Now again, the way to read this is there are going to be winners and losers in every new industry. You are always going to get companies that start out. Look at Amazon. What did Amazon do when it launched? It sold books. What does it do now? Everything. Spotify. What does Spotify do? Music. What does it do now? Everything. Podcasts. It does video entertainment. It does everything. So you can't berate somebody for adding a new business model to what they do. You can't. It's just part of being in an ever-evolving industry. Who are going to be the winners from this? Cango's competitors. If Cango is going to take the eye off the ball and look at AI, which they're quite entitled to do, then that makes more space for the existing Bitcoin miners. So this isn't the end of Bitcoin mining. This isn't the end of Bitcoin. AI isn't going to take over and crypto is going to lose all of its sparkle. But Bitcoin has to share the stage with AI. 14 years ago, 10 years ago, 6 years ago, crypto. Now, probably from about 2 years ago until now, AI has stepped forward. AI is the next big thing. We need to start to admit and understand that crypto is no longer the new kid on the block, and it now needs to compete with AI. Now, the question I have is, where is all this revenue coming from in AI? That's the question. How are they going to derive revenue from AI? They're going to create inference. Oh, not inference. They're going to create inference capacity. So, the shift is to an industry that doesn't exist yet, from an industry that does. That's the first big risk. Selling $305 million now is the wrong thing to do. because if they'd have sold it at the right time, they'd have made $600 million. So they cocked up. So I think this looks poorly on Kango, and I think the Bitcoin miners that exist will be happy, and I think Kango will end up making a mess of this. You can move to an industry too soon. If you opened a restaurant in Dubai 50 years ago, 40 years ago, and you opened it in Dubai and it sold sushi, and you had to import everything, and it was $50 a meal, you'd have gone bankrupt because you were in the right place at the wrong time. If you tried to open a sushi restaurant today, you're probably in the right place, but also at the wrong time, because the right time to open the restaurant was probably 5 to 10 years ago, so you could build the brand. Maybe Dubai is a bad example because probably you'd still get away with it now, but you get the idea. You need to hit the right place at the right time. How much money is AI generating as an industry today? That's the question. Is it going to generate $305 million? Is it going to generate them $5 million? How much money is it going to make them? I don't think it's going to make them that much money. Now, maybe they're thinking it's going to be the next big thing. We've seen so many next big things in the last 30 years that have never come to fruition. So I'd be very careful if I was an investor of holding shares in Kango, and I would go and buy shares in a different company. That would be my honest opinion. Now then, before we disappear, because it is 12:01, and I do try and get these streams done by 12 o'clock, believe it or not. I know we've overrun by a couple of minutes, but sue me. Very quickly going to go and have a look at any messages we've had on Binance. See if there's anybody in there that's asking me any sensible questions and not just asking me for money, which has happened in the past. God, you know what? The Binance stream is so on point. I think it's actually faster than the YouTube stream. Let me have a look. Somebody's asked me about syrup. Thank you. Somebody's asked me about this. If you want this. Okay, so there's no questions asked over on Binance. There's literally no questions. I've had one question from Simon over on YouTube. So that is it for the day. Now, I am back tomorrow. And now I know tomorrow is Wednesday, and we normally have the quiz night. No quiz night tomorrow. Quiz night is next week with Wolfies. Next week is the Wolfies quiz. Tomorrow, I'll be doing a World Liberty Financial stream. Very similar to the stream I did last week, except this week I'm going to be adding in some new articles that have come out and stuff like that. So join me tomorrow at the same time to talk about World Liberty Financial. Have a great Tuesday. Hope Man United beat West Ham away tonight, because then that guy can get a haircut. Anyway, I've been Mike. You've been great. Adios.